Imagine, just for a second, that you could strip away all the light from the night sky. Like waking up in a literal dark age where we were totally blind to the universe around us. A time when everyone firmly believed the sun was just some ordinary, localized light source. And the moon? Well, that was nothing more than a giant rock hanging just out of reach. Fast forward to today, and we basically treat the telescope like our second set of eyes, right? We use it to look deep into the universe's past, to spot black holes, and to search for life on other planets. But it definitely wasn't always this way. This explainer is a story of how a seemingly simple idea completely and profoundly transformed our place in the cosmos. Okay, let's dive into this. I want you to put yourself in the mindset of an average person living about 400 years ago. If you looked up, you absolutely, unequivocally believed the Earth was the immovable center of literally everything, and that nothing else of significance existed beyond our immediate realm. So imagine if someone handed you a telescope back then. You definitely wouldn't view it as a scientific instrument. In fact, 400 years ago, the early precursors to the telescope were widely dismissed as mere optical illusions. People literally thought it was a magic trick. It was a gimmick, completely devoid of the profound scientific reverence we give it today. So how did this all start? Let's look at the origin of the telescope. Was it an optical illusion or scientific magic? To truly appreciate this cosmic journey, we've got to start with its incredibly humble beginnings. Because the greatest scientific instrument in human history did not start in some pristine, high-tech laboratory. Nope, it started as a very simple, almost accidental idea. Our story kicks off about 4 centuries ago in the Netherlands, right in the messy workshops of everyday spectacle makers. These craftsmen were just playing around with different glass lenses, and they stumbled onto a fascinating discovery. If you combine 2 specific pieces of glass and look through them, distant objects suddenly appear much larger and closer. A spectacle maker named Hans Lippershey actually gets the credit for creating one of the very first devices that would eventually be called a telescope. But here's the catch. They had absolutely zero idea how powerful this little device could actually be. It perfectly highlights the ultimate irony of human invention, doesn't it? Initially, this mind-blowing device was just a maritime toy. It was used almost exclusively by sailors to spot distant ships on the horizon. It was a purely practical tool for the sea, completely and utterly disconnected from science or astronomy, or really just looking up at all. But it harbored the potential to unlock the entire universe. It was literally an earth-shattering scientific tool, temporarily trapped in the body of a sailor's spyglass. Which brings us to our next chapter, Galileo's shattered heavens and the end of Earth's centrality. The pivot from a terrestrial toy into a celestial key required just one curious mind to simply take this maritime tube and tilt it upward toward the night sky. And that person, of course, was Galileo Galilei. Galileo pointed his modified spyglass up and saw things that literally no one in the 17th century thought were possible. People didn't even think these things were permitted by the laws of nature. Now, what's really interesting about this is the sheer scale of the disruption his discoveries caused. I mean, he saw actual mountains on the moon. He observed dark spots moving across the face of the sun. And, perhaps most shockingly of all, he saw distinct moons orbiting the planet Jupiter. You have to understand, these discoveries were deeply, deeply dangerous and entirely revolutionary. Before the telescope, humanity had been operating under 2,000 years of flawed, deeply entrenched beliefs that Earth was the absolute center of everything. But after Galileo, well, the logic was undeniable. If the moon had mountains, it was a physical place, a lot like Earth. And if Jupiter had its own moons orbiting around it, then clearly not everything revolved around the Earth. The telescope wasn't just a tool for seeing better anymore. It was a tool for breaking a 2,000-year-old paradigm. And from there, you can really track this explosive momentum. We start with those 1600s Dutch spyglasses, transition to the 1610s with Galileo basically shattering the heavens, and then we take a massive leap into the 19th and 20th centuries, moving toward giant mirrors and eventually right into the digital space age of today. Let's take a closer look at that massive leap into the industrial age. This kicks off the era of mirrors and space observatories. So, as we moved into the 19th and 20th centuries, astronomy hit a huge industrial boom. But scientists ran into a brick wall. They basically hit the absolute physical limits of what glass lenses could do. To see deeper into the cosmos, they needed to gather way more light, and traditional glass lenses simply couldn't get any bigger without literally collapsing under their own weight. So step 1 was glass lenses, which got us to the moon and the nearby planets. But when glass reached its limit, brilliant minds like Isaac Newton introduced step 2, giant mirrors. Mirrors can gather vastly more light, and crucially, they can be supported from behind, which allowed us to build those massive mountaintop observatories. But even then, we had a major problem: the Earth's blurry, shimmering atmosphere. So naturally, we arrived at step 3, putting those giant mirrors on rockets and blasting them into space. And that brings us to the ultimate symbol of escaping Earth, the Hubble Space Telescope. Hubble proved that we were finally no longer tethered to the ground. By sitting high above our atmosphere, Hubble could capture the deep cosmos without any of the limits or distortions of our terrestrial night sky. We had officially transformed a simple, handheld nautical tool into giant, floating eyes right in the vacuum of space. Welcome to the modern era, digital eyes facing the infinite. We are now in an era where telescopes do so much more than just magnify visible light. Today's space telescopes can literally see the invisible. They can peer right through thick cosmic dust using infrared light, and they can catch the incredibly energetic flashes of ultraviolet light. So the crucial point is that while our capabilities are absolutely staggering, we are photographing actual black holes and identifying potentially habitable planets, we still face immense modern challenges. We're constantly fighting severe light pollution from our ever-expanding cities. The manufacturing costs to build larger, smarter telescopes are just astronomical. And in this digital age, these telescopes generate so much data that processing it requires massive supercomputers. We are constantly, relentlessly pushing the absolute limits of engineering just to see a little bit further. Which leads us to our final takeaway: the silent teacher of the cosmos. When we take a step back from all the engineering marvels, the giant mirrors and the high-tech digital sensors, what does this incredible technological journey actually mean for humanity? The original sources we used for this explainer summarize it beautifully with this quote: "The telescope is the silent teacher of history." It's a really profound thought, isn't it? This simple device, completely devoid of a voice, taught us how to fight distance. It taught us how to comprehend the sheer, mind-boggling scale of the universe, and most importantly, it taught us how to harness the laws of physics to fundamentally transform our lives and our entire understanding of reality. Just consider this mind-bending journey of human progress for a second. We went from a spectacle maker's simple glasses to seeing the true face of the moon, to actually photographing the shadow of supermassive black holes, to peering so far back in time that we are literally seeing the very beginning of the universe. It proves that the true value of a tool isn't in its physical appearance or even its original purpose. Its value lies entirely in how it alters our understanding of reality. So, I'll leave you with this final thought to take away from this explainer. The next time you step outside on a clear night and look up at the sky, what are you really seeing? Are you just looking at distant, random points of light? Or are you seeing the culmination of a 400-year story? A history of human discovery, boundless curiosity, and the relentless drive to know our place in the infinite. Because every single time a telescope gathers light, it also carries a piece of our adventurous human spirit. Keep looking up and keep questioning.